Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. If you're looking for PTCGO codes, check out the Potown store. You can even get the new Cosmic Eclipse stuff from there and get yourself a nice 5% discount on your orders using the OmniPoke code. For today's video, we are looking at Malamar. Now, Malamar has a bunch of flashy new toys available to it, but my list hasn't changed all that much from previous Malamar. I think the biggest change is adding in Great Catcher to the list. And I think the biggest changes happen elsewhere in other decks. People are cutting custom catchers for playing their own great catchers. And that's the biggest benefit that Malamar gets, actually. I think in a vacuum, there are some new toys that you could be trying out with this deck. But I've tried them, and I haven't liked them. So I'll talk about the cards that we do play in the 60, and then talk about the other changes later. So, first of all, we have a 4/4 Malamar line. Psychic Recharge, still super good. It's the entire base of the deck, recharging our energies so that we can maintain attackers with Giratinas and some of the other GXs that we have in the deck as well as the Espurr. So these high energy attack costs do get mitigated massively by the Psychic Recharge, of course. From there, we have 3 Stellar-Wish Jirachi, a fantastic lead for us, and is, for the majority of the game, our pivot. We have 3 Switch and 2 Escape Board. Try and get a board on this Jirachi at some point in the game so that we can just be moving in and out of him to make sure that we can get access to more supporters throughout the game, as well as Bull Search in those opening turns. So Jirachi is a phenomenal card, of course. I'm playing a Ditto just to be a 5th copy of Inkay, because basically there's a direct correlation between the amount of Inkays you get turn 1 and the amount of Malamars you get turn 2 to your win rate. So you just want to see these cards. Even though this isn't like super searchable, you just got to try and find him ASAP because he's an extra Inkay, basically. So it's a big part of our win condition, basically, every game. Then we have this toolbox of one-ofs. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 one-ofs, and then the 2 two-ofs. Oh, sorry, 1 two-of, which is Giratina. Giratina is our main attacker. You only need 2 copies because the Distortion Door ability is so phenomenal. You can recover him whenever he gets knocked out or whenever he's in the discard pile, and you can put 1 counter on 2 of your opponent's bench. This can set up some damage, especially with extra Stellar Wishes, extra spell tag damage, and like Psi Powers and Espeon Deoxys and such. So Distortion Door is a phenomenal ability. At the same time, it reloads our Giratina, so the whole idea is that we will be looping both our energies and our attacker with the Giratina. Now, Giratina, I think, has got a lot worse. Malo and Lana is a phenomenal supporter that is seeing a bunch of play in a bunch of tag team decks. So the previously 2-shotting Shadow Impact that does 130 is a lot worse. So I think he's still immense against non-GX decks, of course, and is still pretty solid against some GX decks that don't have heal. But decks that are playing Malo and Lana, I think Giratina is actually pretty shoddy, and that's why we have some other one-offs in here as well to sort of help us out. But, of course, this guy is still a bread and butter attacker that you still try and go for on turn 2 in wide variety of matchups. But it does kind of suck that you do 130 and now Malo Lana heals 120 of that damage. It really is you sort of lose a turn just for nothing. Let's talk about some of the other non-GXs before we move on to the big stuff. Earkinesis. Even though we have Great Catcher, Espurr's insane. 20 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon for each damage counter on that Pokemon, when it has the synergy of Spell Tag and the synergy of Distortion Door that we can sort of manipulate to some extent. Earkinesis just really helps finish off things like Dedenes and other things that we've hit previously with our Giratina, so still very solid. Mew, phenomenal card for defending against Pikarom and Reshiram to an extent. As well as things like Naga sniping and such, which is pretty decent. Psi Power, a decent attack against birds, against mirror, against all sorts of things. So don't sleep on the fact that this can be some nice early counters on the board against your opponent, especially because this can be done before we even hit Mallies on the board, because it's just a 1 energy attacker. We also have a Mimikyu. I like Mimikyu in here. He's a 2 energy attacker, so if things have gone poorly on the Malamar front, you can still get attacking and responding with certain attacks, which is decent. And against certain attackers, this Mimikyu is doing better than a Giratina, which is, the baseline that you would go for the majority of the game. So having a bit of a buff on that is pretty reasonable. I do like this Mimikyu a good amount. Then comes the GXs. So first of all, we're playing a Latios. This has been in here a little bit before. Clear Vision GX is a good GX attack. It can help out against Mewtwo, it can help out against Arceus, Palkia, Dialga if you're able to find this early enough, as well as like fill your board. That can sometimes be really good for you. But I play this in here just because of Green's decks, really. Tag purging your way through Guardian and tag purging your way through Green's art is pretty important, and a few other green space decks as well. So I like having Latios as a one-of in here just because Tag Purge is still a very, very strong attack. And green decks are like way harder for Malamar because they will 100% be playing Tag Call Engine, so they'll definitely be playing Malolana. So you won't win unless you play Latios, basically. Additionally, this is nice against Absol because you can't use Jirachi as a pivot so easily. So escape boarding your Latios against an Absol means you still have free retreat, which is pretty good. From there, we still have SBDO. Now, I actually recorded a video 2 days ago of Malamar, and it didn't have this card in the list. I think SBDO has got phenomenal, like a lot worse in a lot of matchups, just because of Great Catcher and how many decks can just punish us putting him down, attaching 3 energies. He'll just get gusted up and he'll die. So that aspect of the card has got a lot worse. You have to be very, very careful with your SBDO. You can't use it in Mirror anymore unless the 100 damage closes you the game. And he's still pretty bad against any like one-hit KOing, matchup. Because they will be able to gust SBDO now, and previously that wasn't always the case. However, Cross Division GX is still phenomenal against every non-GX matchup that isn't Mirror, and very good against control decks. Super good against Pidgeotto, really good against the new Florgus Clefairy Doll based deck as well. So SBDO, I've made the space back in the list for him after originally cutting him. So I think the best days of SBDO are over for Malamar. I think he's still a crazy good card in Mewtwo, of course. But I think he's not a staple in the deck anymore, which is pretty bizarre. But I think he does just enough in those control matchups where he's still worth having in the list, just to take multiple prizes all at once and play around Stamp and such better. Then we have the new kid on the block, Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff-GX. I've said a few times that we have terrible damage output now against GX decks that have healing. So having some extra one-hit KO opportunities is pretty important in my book. So Jumping Balloon doing 60 and 60 more for each of your opponent's GX and EX in play fills this role quite nicely. This Megalopuff has helped me close games in a bunch of situations. The 240, which is just, 2 GXs in play. Sorry, 3 GXs in play is 240. You can even use things like Spell Tag, Damage, and Distortion Door to set things up, and many GX-based decks will have 3 in play. It's like pretty normal for them to have 2 attackers under Dedenne on board, and if ever you're up against decks that have more than that in play, obviously Jumping Balloon is taking knockouts, which is awesome. Puffy Smashers can be powered up, but if you're committing 5 energies to this card, I'd be very surprised, especially when you have SBDO for that sort of thing. And I've just said how SBDO basically never gets the full 200 off anymore, unless you're up against decks that can't one-hit KO the card. You would just prefer that route rather than the Megalopuff. So this will rarely ever get the full-on Puffy Smashers value for 200 as a snipe, but something to bear in mind. Onto the trainers, playing a couple copies of Acrobike just to help us push through the deck a little bit nicer. 2 copies of the new Great Catcher, phenomenal card for the deck. I think one thing to note about this archetype is that you are much more aggressive at Grinching Dedennes. We really do punish the use of that card as much as possible. So Great Catcher is phenomenal for that, as well as being able to access, again, things that we've damaged previously on the bench. So yeah, reasonable overall. We have 4 ofs of Treasure and Com for our Bull Search options. Again, you got to get Mallies on the board, you got to get your attacker down, get an energy on it on turn 1, so pretty standard stuff. 3 Switch as well as 2 Escape Board really helps work with the Jirachi for Stellar Wishing, and of course moving out of chunkier retreaters as well. It's the most important resource that you have to bear in mind against Pidgeotto control. You will oftentimes use Copycat on Orangaru's attack to recycle copies of Switch and copies of Cynthia basically into your list so that you, and Mew as well if it's been knocked out a bunch of times. Try and use Mimikyu to extend the game and make sure you don't get trapped in those sorts of matchups. 3 copies of Viridian, phenomenal card of course. I've actually thought about going down to 2 copies of this card just because of how annoying Celtic Swell is in the game right now, especially for Arceus, Palkia, Dialga. So there's some debate to cutting 1 Viridian for either a bike or an extra energy card. But right now I'm still at 3 copies because it's just obviously good synergy, because it can help discard and lower your hand to make Lillie stronger in general. It obviously can discard a Psychic for a Psychic, and you have that combo where you're fueling your discard pile for Psychic Recharge, as well as getting extra attachments out of the deck and onto the board, which is always very good. We then have 4 Cynthia, 4 Lillie as our only supporters in the deck. Previously, I've liked having like 1 copy of Judge or 1 copy of Erica. At the moment, I don't really have space because I'm playing so many Pokemon techs. But if you don't like any of these Pokemon that you're seeing up here, you can definitely squeeze in one of those cards as well. 4 Spell Tag. Like I said earlier, if a lot of decks are moving towards Great Catcher, Spell Tag gets even stronger. Remember when we thought that this card was just incredible post Guzma being, what's it called? Rotating. So Spell Tag is like, once again, it's like an extra rotation because people have just cut customs in a lot of builds. So they just don't get around tag anymore. It actually goes off, which is awesome. And even Labs is like technically worse just because of the amount of Swell being played in decks. So yeah, Spell Tag's just a very good card right now. Recycle Energy, as well as 7 Psychic to round out the list in terms of energy cards. Recycle just extra ways of making sure we can always have manual attachment on top of our recharges throughout the game, and it basically never punishes us because we have 1 colorless in literally all of our attacks. So yeah, pretty reasonable overall. For Pokemon, now, there's a lot of cards that are hyped from the new set that I'm not playing, so let's talk about these. First of all, the Shadowbox Mimikyu. This is obviously a defense against Mewtwo. Makes the Mewtwo matchup pretty favored. It can also help out against things like Volcarona matchups and such. But ultimately, I don't think Volcarona is actually going to stand up to the hype, and I don't think it's that strong of an archetype, so you don't really care about that matchup so much. And I think Mewtwo is still strong, for sure. But I think a lot of the time our damage when we're not playing Shrine is going to come from Distortion Door or Spell Tag, and if they're going for the turn 2 SBDO play, they can already like do it against you. Possibly you would have to, like, in some world where you find this and Mew and your Inkays and your Malamars and your Giratina, it's good, but in the early game you got to commit your Bull Search to so much other stuff, I found. So like, although it can deny early Mewtwo high roll, you also need to kind of like high roll into the card yourself for it to be useful. So I think overall not worth. It seems like overkill for the Mewtwo matchup. If Mewtwo is still like a top 3 deck, possibly worth it. But at the moment, I think like you've got to commit your Bull Search to other stuff. You've got to commit to Plan A rather than just trying to deny them, because there's no doubt Mewtwo will be adapting to Mimikyu anyways. Like, they'll be playing Hoods, they'll be playing Heals, so the plan could just get wrecked anyway. So I'm currently not playing the card. The other card that is super hyped for a lot of Malamar players is this Blacephalon. Now, I've said how healing is a big problem, and I'm still playing SBDO because I think SBDO is still good enough. But I don't think this Blacephalon is, because it only works on exactly the 3 prize turn. So you've got to try and find him on that turn. And Malamar is known for, you know, having to commit Bull Search towards the Mallies in the early turns, so you don't necessarily have comms and treasures readily available for this card when you need to. And when that's the case, he's just like basically the same or worse than Giratina. So Blacephalon basically would be a Great Catcher space, and Great Catcher is good every single turn of the game. Blacephalon is not that, so it's basically a Mew for the majority of the game. And if you're worried about losing mirrors, just you know, go from 2 to 4 prizes, or like go from 4 to 2 and just skip the 3 prize turn. Easy enough. It's the same as skipping or like playing around Ultra Necrozma as best you can, you know. So I think this card will not see play, or should not see play in Malamar currently. We need more Bull Search, I think, for the card to be good, because we commit so much Bull Search to Mallies on the opening turns that you just happen, like, sometimes you happen to have a random Bull Search just available on that 3 prize turn, and hey, look, the card's pretty juicy. But even then, I think we've already got the beating of non-GX matchups, so you're not really like improving any bad matchup by adding him into the list. So we're not going to play him. In terms of other cards you could be looking at having in the list, more Acrobikes, Adventure Bag, Judge or Erica. I've tried Rosa. Rosa's not great. That could help the Blacephalon, though, if you play Rosa, give you some more Pokemon access. which is interesting. But overall, this is where we're at with the build. So we'll be jumping into the ladder and have some games with it. I did mention that I've recorded... Well, I tried to record this 2 days ago, and I played 3 games, and it took me 1 hour and 45 minutes because I faced 2 Pidgeotto controls and 1 Florsbuck deck. So hopefully we don't run into those matchups. But they are popular on the ladder right now, and Malamar has at least a game plan against them, so it's not like a bad matchup for Mally or anything. But yeah, I'd like a slightly shorter video. It was a lot of work. All right, we start with a free retreater, which is okay. In terms of like new awkward matchups for this deck, Dark Box is one that we don't... okay. I saw the Dark deck box and I was like, yes, this could be a problem. Dark Box is a matchup that we don't necessarily appreciate. Hopefully Mega Lopuff can come in and help us out here. At the same time, yeah, like I said, Mallow and Lana just in a bunch of decks is a real pain. So that's something that's a bit of a worry for Malamar. I actually think it's in a worse place than it was pre-Cosmic Eclipse. Great Catch is a super good card for the deck, though, so I don't know. Alright, they miss Sneasel, which is very good for us. Alright. We can... So, this is a matchup where the Mimikyu would also be very good. Obviously, denying Weavile, its use of abilities would be pretty sweet. But okay, the Lopuff's in deck. We get an Inkay. I'm going to common this Mally. I think I want to get Stellar Wish down. I can do this, I can do this, we can Door. Get an energy on, we can Cynthia. Alright, we'll go for a Wish. Both really good cards. We have Switch in hand though, so I'm going to lower the hand size for this Lillie next turn. This may help him a little bit, but again, I see no Sneasel, so I see no reason to not do this play. Obviously, we're not taking energies out of the deck because we're going to try and Lillie. They get that freebie discard of a Dark. They could well go for a Dark Moon GX, just because they don't have many other plays available to them, but they have some very good GX attacks against us in this matchup. The Sabltar milling 10 has actually happened to me a few times. A milling 15, I should say. Can actually happen against Malamar, especially with their heals. Okay, they're going to Great Catcher as well here. Bring up that Latios. They might be trying to buy some time, or they might just be trying to deny Stellar Wish, which is also fair. They're going to Cynthia and Caitlyn. Discarding a Switch. To grab Lillie. And yeah, they are going to Dark Moon GX. So... if I can't Lillie anyways... seems fine. We'll just attach and pass into the active. Dark Moon, a phenomenal GX attack that really does help Dark Box out a lot, especially if they have a slightly slower start like this. It now means that they can be Black Lancing like nothing went wrong. The good news is we don't have to be worried about Sabltar deck out. It's a genuine concern. They once again have a tag call. Looks like they've been ready, finding it hard to find Sneasel. They did take a Lillie off the off their previous Cynthia Caitlyn, but it looks like they had more in their hands, so they were just doing the tag call to thin, and then they're gonna draw 3 here. They're gonna Viridian. More tag calls. Thinning their deck of all of those cards at least. There is a Malolana. The good news is they've played a couple Cynthia Caitlyns already, so they can't loop it quite as much. Still scary, of course. Alright. Just thinking what I want to do here. Do I ever just take an Inkay? Yeah, we just take a big one. I could use an extra com before the Lillie to draw a card. Don't think it's worth though. Same thing for the Viridian. I could -1, but I think I'd rather keep a guaranteed supporter in hand for next turn. Espeon is terrible in this matchup, so we'll bin him real quick before the bike. And I take this second Jirachi just so I can turn it into an Inkay. So we know they have Mallow and Lana, but the only good news is they still have no Weavile, so the like if they do the heal, it's not as impactful. It still undoes the turn that we do, but they can't just like get an extra attack off on us at least. 110 with that resistance is so poor. We really need to try and find some spell tags. They finally get a Ditto Prism down. They also find Ultra Space, so now they're going a little bit better. And there's a Poipole. Oh, they have a second Great Catcher. Not great for us. Oh, they can do the pivot with Ditto now? Yikes, bro. So they're going to be going down to 3 prizes. Guzzlord can take additional ones as well, which is very ugly. So not great so far. We have nothing that we can search out of this, right? Yeah. We're gonna put this down. I'll draw 4. The only card I would want to draw before the Lillie would be exactly Treasures. Yeah, so we'll do this first. Acrobike seems good. Now Black Lance is much better damage than so I can also get some damage on a Sabltar. So that's cool. Spell tags would also be pretty cool here. The board is fine. We have a lot of energy committed. That's the only awkward thing about this play. A lot of energy committed to our board. They have 3 cards in hand. It's not super likely that they can just come in with a Guzzlord next turn. They'd have to have a switch and a Weavile and... yeah. We don't need to attach. We don't need to Viridian, so we'll just Black Lance. There is the Weavile. There's also a Naga GX, which is helpful for our Lopuff plan. Also a Dede. Now it looks more likely they could easily have a switch here. Also a Ultra Convert. They have a Swell. Yeah, they do have Switch. Okay, so they're going down to 1 prize with the big Guzz. That is scary. Does commit all their energies, though. It does commit all their energies. They could also Lillie for a couple cards. There's a Stealthy Hood. Oh, they put it on the Darkrai rather than the Weavile. Okay. I would have thought Weavile's the natural home for that. But... we have 1 more comm in the deck, so I could try and wish before the Cynthia. I think I will, because either we're happy that we hit the comm, or we hit any non-low puff physical out, so we'll do that. Okay, busted. Okay, so here's the plan. Low puff sweep. That's the entirety of our plan. There's nothing else but this plan. Next turn, he won't have enough energies in play to do pretty much anything. We still have all of our switches, right? I can play this switch. Interesting. We do hit a Great Catcher. So Great Catcher can really accelerate this clock a lot. Because I could just like... But what's he doing next turn if I just deal with his energies? No, we just give him the old balloon here. He can't B-string yet either, so that's not an issue. There's no red and blue target. There's no baby Nagas in play. There's no GX attack available to him. They're going to Pokecom a Weavile. We're not worried about any one card that can one-shot us, right? They may just need to get, yeah, I was going to say, they may just need to get like a Poipole down. They're going to attach to their Weavile, which I really don't think is wise, because I'm probably going to try and Great Catcher that next turn. They're going to Ultra Convert. Yeah, they're just going to try and feed us a Dede. Well, we're definitely going to Gust. 100%. We have no more energies in our discard part, right? What can I lose to? I don't think I can lose to a lot. Famous last words is that I don't think I can lose to a lot. Yeah, okay, cool. They do scoop. Alright, we got there. I feel like the Guzzlord play that they made was maybe too greedy, possibly. They were pretty far ahead, they just had to keep up in attachments, and they kind of ran thin. Also, their board got full of non-baby nags. That's the one thing I found about Dark Box. As soon as I put a Dragon Nagger in the list, I never got enough energies in play, because a board space was taken up by a Drag Nag rather than a charge up. So I definitely tried a list that played Drag Nag, and it just always ended horribly, so that's my little tip to you. Alright, decent start here. Mew's never a horrible starter, because you can threaten Psi Powers early. Okay, looks like we're up against another tag team deck. Guardian this time around. So, again, a priority is for us to try and use Latios a bunch of times over. We get ourselves a Jirachi. Oh, wait, what? Mewtwo Fairies? What's going on here? I want to get rid of the Psychic Energy more than the Giratina here. Let's see what's going on. Okay, Latios was the first thing I wanted to look for. If it is against a fairy-based deck, Mimikyu copying some fairy attacks could be really good. Only 4 energy. 4 energy in deck? So 4, 5, 6. Okay. Alright, we'll do this. Espurr can go back in for a little bit. He can just chill. Now, do I want to just attach retreat board? I do have the double Inkay down, and we haven't played a supporter, so it's probably definitely the right move, right? I'll hold the board for now until I need to Lillie. Yeah, Cynthia seems good. Okay. We'll commit some stuff. We'll attach this. We'll play this guy. We got 1 energy in the bin so far. Did a really good job of filling the board. If I put down Jirachi, I'm much safer against Turbo Strike. What am I weaker to? Is there anything I'm weaker to? I think I put down the spell attack for sure. What am I weaker to if I put down Jirachi? I mean, I have no supporter next turn, so I'm pretty sure I have to. It's kind of a weak board around some spread plays. That's the thing I'm most scared of. But that's a long way away, right? We see a Latios-GX. Water Energy. Viridian. They get rid of a Malolana. That's great for us. That may indicate they're using Cynthia Caitlyn this turn to draw. Oh, they're just going to use Overrun. For nothing, because we have Mew and Resistance. Okay. We get back into our recycle, which isn't... Okay, they just scoop. Okay, fine. Sure. I don't know why they're scooping there, but... They at least had to see what we were up to, right? If we had Stellar-Wished into a supporter and a Viridian, I think we were in super good shape, but... nothing indicated that. Excuse me, I'm super tired, but I'm trying to get a bunch of recordings done before the IC. So, I hope you appreciate that I'm grinding through a bunch of games, so stick with it. Might be why my brain is mush right now and I'm not making sense and yawning in front of you. Alright, we'll get one more game in. We get a Mull. A Maligan. Told you it wasn't making sense. Come on, bro. Getting a good look at what he's up against. It's about as textbook as a Malamar hand gets. In it goes. Ooh, juicy. We got a Jirachi start. And we get to go first again, which is sick. Oh, this guy's taking forever. Okay. Oh, ADP. Okay, cool. ADP is definitely a matchup that we want to demonstrate the power of the Puff. Don't tell him that we play Puff, okay, guys? That's the first rule. First rule of low Puff is don't tell him you have low Puff. There he is. Don't say anything. You don't want to scare him away. I think Giratina's still the first thing on the agenda. Cynthia seems good. I probably am going to put down this second Jirachi. Just for the other side of the Cynthia. Very solid hand. More Inkays are great. I think I want to wish for a Viridian first, though. Never lucky. More treasures can't be right with this hand. I guess I can take the Calm. I guess I'll just treasure for an extra ink. No energy in the bins. The only thing lacking from this turn one. Everything else has been pretty solid. So the priority next turn is wish for Viridian. And hope he doesn't Celtic Swell. Certainly is a deck that will swell up. If we fail to get... Oh man, they are swelling up. See, you know when I was like, we should just play more bikes instead of Viridian? This matchup definitely makes it feel really bad that you play 3 stadiums. They have the ends resolve here. Ooh, they only hit waters. And they already chose to attach a water for turn. Pre-Dede change, which is weird, should I say. You should always see the outcome of your end before attaching energy, because you look like a fool sometimes. You know? It's pretty basic. Oh well. It helps us out. It means they're not facing an immediate GX attack. They're just going to pass. So SBDO is definitely awful here. Actually, they don't one-shot SBDO ever, so maybe keeping him in the deck's not bad. I'm gonna start... this always happens. Espeon can't be strong here. Espeon can go into the deck if I want to, just to get this other Mally down. But I think keeping the treasure in hand is still solid, just in case I draw into energy cards. This is obviously an important piece. We want to... Oh, Lillie for 2 sucks so much. Okay. I'll do it this way around. I'll calm the Deoxys. I was thinking of holding calm as long as possible, just because of low puff, but I think this is fine. I think a spell tag is fine. Energies, please. Oh, no energies. That is gross. Not even a Viridian to bounce the swell for like a following turn. That's really bad for us. Supporterless and swellless. Oh, sorry, energyless and Viridianless. A lot of less, not enough plus. Oh, we desperately need a supporter next turn. Oh, Mally. You know. Oh, Mally. You don't change, do you? Let's see if they are able to navigate their way towards a GX attack this time. They're throwing Cherishes down just to improve a Cynthia here. So they need to hit a switch and a metal off this, which isn't too much to ask. They immediately go for it. Board as well. And they're just going to alter Creation GX, which is scary. Alright, let's wish for some cards that are better than the cards that we have. Alright, step 1 of deal with this swell initiated. So depressing when you have to make this play. Please give me a supporter. Oh my god. We're going to try and slow him down, I guess. Latios is going to be pretty bad as soon as he powers up a Keldeo, so we're going to toss this guy away. We'll try and trap the best we can. And hope that his hand size is low and that he doesn't have much. It's all we got right now. Ah, very good. Very good. Okay. Energy cards. Nice to meet you. Stunning. We're almost there. I mean, I've come this far with the tags. I think it's just fine. I'm just thinking if it's ever right to just retreat into this Jirachi instead. I think it's right. I want to hold this low puff really greedily. I want to hold it greedily. So that's what we're going to do. Just because he attached past, I think we have this license a little bit more. They Viridian away a Jirachi of their own. They grab a metal. Oh, they top deck switch. Yikes. Alright, so they're going to hit us with that ray. That ray of ultimateness. They're just going to attach the 1, which makes sense. Finally. So many spell tags. We'll take the Lillie. That's what we'll play this turn. We'll just do this. Do this. Do this for 3. And we're going to swing. Definitely don't feel comfortable with this. They have healing up the wazoo, potentially. If they do go for a healing play and attack with the other ADP, we can do the spell tag damage for 40 onto it. And then the Lopuff can kill it, and again, it's Project Lopuff carry me. Oh, it's just gonna ultimate ray. Okay. So it's still Project Lopuff carry me. The good news is they probably don't play customs. They probably just play greats. Alright. I'm going to use my own Great Catcher here, right? 6, 12, 18, 24. So then this is only at 6, 12, 18. So yeah, we're going to do the Great Catcher play. Lopuff is just so clutch. Bring me up this boy. We'll do this stuff. That's fine. I guess we played Viridian to play around Stamp. We wish. And we're going to go for the big balloon. We pray that it doesn't play custom catchers, and we should be chill. Also, we kind of pray that it doesn't Mallow Lana this turn. Promoting the Dedenne is good news for us. It's less likely that he'll Mallow Lana, because he'd have to have an additional switch now. They're just playing some gears by the looks of things pre-Dede, maybe? Or they're looking for a better supporter. Let's see. There's a Keldeo. All the Keldeos. Okay. That, yeah, okay. It's not bad for us at all. We see Jirachi. Mega Lopuff really has worked its magic so far in the deck. It's been insane. We're going to see a wish from them. Hopefully no customs, please. Okay, a switch. They're just going to switch into a Keldeo. Do they have tag switch? No. Okay, that's game rate. We top decked energy. So I can actually go for a Puffy Smashers GX here. We can switch. And Puffy Smashers is going to carry the game. Why did I doubt it? Why did I doubt Puffy Smashers, guys? It's broken. Broken. There it is. Nice. Well, we were fortunate in that he, like, missed off his End's Resolve on the opening turn. But we also had a huge energy drought our own end, so... Yeah, that's a bit of Mally. Let me know what you guys think about the list. Are you still playing Espeon Deoxys? Because it's definitely something that I basically only play for control now. What do you think about Viridian? Do you think it's worth still playing, even in a swell meta? Should we just play more acros? Overall, we saw Great Catcher be just as nuts as we all thought, and Mega Lopuff as just as nuts as we all thought. We didn't really get to use the Latios much. It was actually a bit of a liability, but it's there for green decks. And that's kind of the nature of us having all these one-ofs. They pop up and they're handy and decent in like a variety of situations. So, yeah, that's Mally. We'll move on with another deck tomorrow. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you there.